Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and we are back for another F124 track guide. And I know probably by the time I'm saying this it's kind of crazy to think that we're 2 months away from F125, but figured out I'd give out a track guide, and just if people are still playing the game, just wanted to help some people out. Like I said, quick disclaimer, I am not all that quick, but I will try to help you guys out the best I can. But here's a quick little track guide around the Australian circuit. So if you guys want to see more of these, please let me know down below, or just like this video in general. But anyways, let's get started on the track guide. So right here, as we start our lap, you kind of want to get yourself already situated to begin with, because obviously the second to last corner you kind of take a good run out. It's not like Bahrain, for example, where you can kind of take a wide turn to start your lap. You kind of have to kind of get yourself situated. So basically right here, you want to stay all the way on the left side of the track, and you want to follow this straight line. I like to just follow this little line in the corner, the little white a little bit, for the obviously this is a street circuit, so you mainly want to follow the road sort of thing. But anyways, down into turn number one. Turn number one is a very inconsistent corner that a lot of people, still even myself, struggle to kind of get right. Sometimes if you don't take the curb, you find time. Sometimes if you take the curb, you don't find time. Sometimes if you just do both, you just don't find time. So what I tend to do though is I like to technically sort of use this curb a little bit, just because I find it a little bit more easier when I originally, let's say, take it. Now, if you don't want to take the curb, you kind of want to get as close as you can. Now, not taking the curb actually is also a pretty smart idea, mainly because sometimes that curb can throw the car off, but I tend to kind of use that curve a little bit. That's where I find time. And then you want to focus on the exit. You kind of want to use up all the exit, and you want to use up all this AstroTurf here at the point, because you want to mainly just use up every little bit of track you can get. You sort of want to make the track wider for yourself. But anyways, take this curb right here, and just a straight line down all the way down to turn number 3, which you kind of want to start fading to the left side of the track, and you sort of want to start braking around the around before the 50 to 75, just because this corner as well, you take this in third gear. You could take it in fourth sometimes. I usually do third. Another tricky corner to sort of get right, because again the curb is sort of a little bit bigger, so it's not like a flat curb where you can take it and it won't throw the car off. You kind of have to be careful, because that curb can throw your car off. Use up the exit. I would not take that curb on the exit. It's just not ideal in my opinion. And right here you want to straight the car all the way towards the right of the side of the track, and then cut the left, and then you want to focus on this exit right here. So basically at this point we're going to go back and show you kind of how you take it. So you sort of want to use up all of it, like just about that. I think right there would be okay, especially in a race scenario too. You'd probably want to use it, but like I said, you want to really focus on this exit. Now obviously I believe in real life there is a sausage curb right where that line where that line goes, so you have to be a little bit careful on that. But you want to use up all the exit, and then flat out all the way through here. Don't take the inside curb, not really ideal in my opinion. And then you focus on the exit. And now coming into the more of one of the faster corners of this circuit, and actually a very difficult corner because of the exit. You can easily get track limits if you just keep it right there. So you want to start braking right before the 50-meter board, so right around the 75. Go down into 6th gear. You could take this in 5th. I recommend 6th. And you sort of want to use up that inside. Don't take the curb. Sometimes, I mean, if taking the curb is not bad, but I don't really tend to take the curb like that sometimes. And then you focus on the exit. The exit is very difficult because you're taking this at such a high speed. You're sort of playing with the track limits, and that white line, that yellow line, not the white line, the yellow line right there is sort of where your track limit is. So as you play it through there, kind of want to focus on yourself through there. And then you want to cut the straight, and mainly by cutting the straight is you just want to stay as close as you can through this part. Now quali laps, I would just stay all the way in the inside. Race scenario, not ideal. I mean, you could take it in a race scenario. I tend to go out a little bit more in the middle of the track, just because that's just obviously where the preferred racing line is. Now obviously I'm not too much of a sweat when I do career mode. I more kind of just do it for fun. And if I'm in a league racing scenario, I will usually cut all the corners I can get to. But anyways, right now through here, basically just want to use it all the way. And now coming up into the most difficult part of this track, probably my favorite corner out of all the games, and it's specifically this fast left and right hander. Now you sort of want to lift off or possibly brake. Now in time trial you take this flat out usually. Sometimes I don't have the confidence in flat out, so I tended to lift. Now, and more if you're in a main session with qualifying and all that, you probably want to lift, maybe a little tap on the brake, but I wouldn't go any higher than 40%. And you sort of want to use up the curb, but you don't want to take too much curb because that's going to throw your car off as you approach into the second. So I tend to really not take the curb. Sometimes I'll take it, kind of just all depends. And then you want to eat that curb up and then use up the exit. Now the exit is very difficult because the curve is so, it sort of extends, so it's like a very tricky curb to kind of get right, because if you have both your tires, we're going to go back in reverse here, if you have both your tires sort of off, that exit, because of the gravel, it's just going to spin you right around. So you have to be very careful on the exit. And obviously on my lap I did make a little mistake, that's why you see a little left and right left kind of scenario. So I did save it, but that's just why that's like that, so you'll see that on the lap. Basically straight line through here, and now coming up into a very a tricky braking zone, but not really too tricky. It's sort of one of the, I'd say one of the more easier braking zones, I'd say. And you want to start a brake maybe at the 50. You could probably brake a little bit later. I mean, it kind of just all depends. Maybe braking before, you know, obviously the 50, maybe later. That would probably be ideal as well. You go down into third gear, and you want to use up the curb, and you don't want to cut the curb completely. I mean, you can. I mean, roughly just all depends, but I tend to kind of don't like to get on that red bit at the point, because sometimes, again, it'll throw the car off, and roughly just all depends. Sometimes you could take it, sometimes you can't. Just depends on your ride height. But take it through there, and then you focus on the exit, and I would use up the curb a lot. Obviously you want to use up all the exit curb as you can. You cannot take it, roughly it's just your opinion. And now coming into one of the other, obviously the penultimate sort of laps of the corners, this is completely flat out, and you just have to have the confidence. A slight little turn in if you're on a wheel on pad, you know, it's, I don't know how to really explain it on pad, but just move the joystick a little bit, use up the exit. Now be very careful with this exit because it can still throw the car off, so just depends on your ride height scenario. And now approaching into the penultimate lap of the corner, down into third gear. I would not recommend really taking the curb. It just kind of will offset the car just a little bit. You can take it sometimes, roughly just depends on your ride height scenario, but use up the inside, and then you want to focus on the exit. And you sort of want to run out all the way, maybe use up a little bit more of the track, and then you slow just in fast, and then head into the last corner of the circuit, and then a straight line all the way to the checker flag, and that is a lap around Melbourne. So I will give y'all my setup that I did this lap on, and we will go into the time trial, and I will show you the full lapping completely of what time I set. Like I said, time is not that great, but I will give y'all a nice setup. So I'm going to show y'all my setup that I personally chose. Now what I would do for front wing, I would run 3322. That's just what I found best, and I think 3322 would just be ultimately, you can adjust your wings to however you want, it's your opinion. I just did 3322 personally, and you could probably get away with like a little bit lower. And then 60, 50, 80, you could do obviously adjustment on throttle to 100 and engine braking at 100, and then use off throttle at 25%. Now, and then obviously through suspension geometry all the way to the left. That's just what you have to do, all the way to the left, and then we'll head into the main suspension. 41.4 would work. I did 39.5, 19.13 on roll bars, and then 21.60 on the ride height. Like I said, you can play with this however you want. It's your opinion. Like I said, I mean, if you guys want to tweak the setup, that's okay. You got 100, and I believe that is 55. 55, adjust your brake bias however you want it, and then tire pressures to the max. And the time that I did set on this was a 115.5, so that's around top 3%. Not ideal, but ultimately that's where you're gonna get. But anyways, that's my lap. That's the setup. So hope you guys enjoy this lap, and I will see y'all in the next video. Have a good rest of your day, everybody, and enjoy the lap.